Hi, welcome to another Coil Chat. We're going to talk today about the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni lawsuit because we've talked a lot about it on my page in short increments, but we're going to kind of put it together and see if we can make some sense of this so that it's all here on my YouTube channel. This is also a very interesting case based off of the fact that I'm an attorney, right? And I'm looking at the legal sides of this. Like, do they have a case? Is this just fluff? Is this just more intimidation with these rich celebrities that are just being able to use the court system to intimidate? And the short answer is, yeah, I really do think that a lot of this comes down to that these are lawsuits that I don't know if they're going to really have a lot of merit in court or if there's going to be enough solidified evidence because it's so much he said, she said. A lot of it is in the interpretation of what you did was sexual harassment or what you did was bullying. If they have a jury, the jury is going to have to decide if they believe that as well. And as celebrities, a lot of people don't feel bad for them. They're rich. They got more money than they know what to do with. And so a lot of people are just like, why are we wasting our time with this? So let's get into it. On December 20th, Blake, who stars in the movie It Ends With Us, she starred in it with Justin Baldoni. He was the director. His family studio was the ones who produced it. But she filed a complaint. At this time, when we got this on December 20th, this was not an actual legal document. This was just a complaint that they had filed in California claiming sexual harassment and alleged retaliatory public smear campaign to destroy her reputation. And when the movie came out, there was a lot of stuff that was happening with it. And at the time, Blake really did get hammered in the media. A couple of things I remember when the movie came out, Justin and Blake were not doing promotion together. They were not traveling the country and doing shows together or doing, these events to basically promote the film together. That first was weird to me. If you look at the Wicked people, they were together everything, right? People were so angry at Blakely because she was not talking about domestic violence. She was in these press junkets. She was talking a lot about, keeping it light. She wasn't talking about the harshness or the reality of the show. She was talking about flowers and empowerment. And a lot of people got mad about that because they were like, how, with a movie that is so much about DV, how are you not talking about it? There was Justin over here who was talking about it, talking about, the effects and what, it really opened his eyes and kind of making it really like, I'm going to talk about it. And at the time, the press just destroyed Blake. And online. I saw it everywhere. And so that went, and Blake Lively launched her hair product about the same time. Got so much criticism about that, about why would you launch this when you're doing a movie about, DV and it should be more serious. And her launch didn't do very well. Blake Lively kind of went into hiding a little bit. She was really, really upset about this. So then this lawsuit comes out, or this complaint. What happened is that she made this complaint saying that Justin calculated basically a smear campaign to basically get on top of attacking Blake before she could turn and attack him. And we find this all out in the complaint that there was a lot of instances on set that made Blake Lively very, very uncomfortable. First of all, there wasn't like an intimate coordinator in the beginning, and that was an issue. There was a lot of things that she claims that Justin was doing to make her uncomfortable, like him coming into her trailer when she wasn't dressed and wanting to talk about scenes. He wanted to add more sexual content in the movie that she had not agreed to when she read the script. And then there was some things like he wanted her to be fully nude when she was having the baby in the movie, which she didn't feel comfortable about. And he even went as far as showing a video of his wife having the baby and showing that she was nude. And therefore it's very normal and very natural. Blake didn't feel comfortable about that. And then there was just a lot of other little things. Justin and the producer of the show were just being very retaliatory. And in her complaint, her very, very long complaint, she brought receipts. So she brought a lot of evidence in the complaint, including text messages and emails to really what she believed, and they put together and portrayed these tactics to basically destroy Blake. And they're right there. Now, what was interesting is that we got a lot of text messages from Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel. So who are they? Well, they are the publicists who were working with, a big Publicist company, and they were working on Justin's account. In the middle of all of this, Melissa and Jennifer decide to leave this big account or this big company and go start their own. Because of that, Melissa and Jennifer had to leave all of their company property in the hands of their boss, Stephanie, it was her name. And then they went and started their own. And Justin Baldoni and his production company went with them. So clearly, this happens. Like, you don't control your clients. You don't, just lawyers, same thing. You can't keep your clients with you. They have the right to leave, but there are contracts in place. And obviously, Melissa and Jennifer left and took, clients with them. Like, that's not very awesome for your boss, right? I'm all about like women, like starting your own businesses, doing your own thing, setting a platform out there for you to shine. But I also am very, very big on doing it the right way. Don't burn bridges. And it absolutely seems like they just like left in the night and like, we're done. And they had been doing this behind their back. So I'm not really supportive of the way they did it and how they did it, because what happened is all of a sudden in Blake's big pleading, we find all these text messages between Melissa and Jennifer. And a lot of people are like, how does Blake have these text messages? And what happened is in California, they have something that's called pre-litigation, meaning that they're able to get discovery prior to filing a lawsuit. Now in Utah, you can't do that. You have to file a lawsuit, then ask for discovery. But in California, they didn't have to do that. So Stephanie, who was the boss of Melissa and Jennifer, got a subpoena from Blake's team saying, we want all of this information. And Stephanie gave it to him. She gave them their phones, gave them their laptops, and they were able to go and do some forensics on it. And they were able to uncover all of these text messages. It seems like they did it correctly. They did it under a subpoena, and Blake had the right to get it. So it doesn't seem like that was done improperly. I know people are mad about it, but that is what it is. And it was company property. It wasn't the, ownership of Melissa and Jennifer. And they were able to get all these text messages. So because of that, they were able, in Blake's pleading, they were able to show a lot of what I would say information to specifically show some of these things that Blake was alleging Justin did. And then it gets to this point where, everybody's like, oh my gosh, Justin did this, Justin did this. And as soon as this complaint came out and, it blew up on the internet, Justin got dropped by his management company. And that was like a big deal, So then we're getting down where, we're kind of digesting Blake's lawsuit. And shortly after, Baldoni then filed his own lawsuit on December 31st. But he's suing the New York Times. And the New York Times is the newspaper that published the article and the pleading that Blake Lively filed in California. So he's now suing them for libel, false light, invasion of privacy, promissory fraud, and breach of implied, in fact, contract. He was saying that it was poor reporting, that it was false, and that they should have never reported this. My thing is that everything they got was from Blake Lively's complaint. Somebody leaked it to them. Obviously, it was probably part of Blake's team. I mean, that's just speculation, but that's probably what happened. And obviously that was calculated. New York Times was going to put, and it blew up everywhere. But he's now suing them for $50 million libel suit. And it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. So now that lawsuit is going, now we have Stephanie, who, owned the company that Melissa and Jennifer worked at. And, she's suing Justin and Melissa and Jennifer for breach of contract, because she's saying that they didn't have the right to leave the way they left and that they owe her money because they left and they basically breached a contract. Now, in my thought, I'm sure there was contracts that were signed when he became a client of theirs, and I would assume that there's employment contracts. Stephanie's company and her probably have the strongest lawsuit out there. I just want to let you know, because if there are specific things that were in their contract and then they can show that them leaving didn't meet any of the terms of what would allow them to leave, then a breach of contract is probably going to have, and they're probably going to owe her money, but we're going to see. So some of the biggest, players obviously are Blake Lively, her husband, because he's throughout the pleading, Colleen Hoover, who owned the book, the rights to the book. She wrote it and then sold the rights to be this movie to be made. And then we're going to have to deal with this. It's like a publicist war. Stephanie Jones, I already said, and Melissa Nathan, Jennifer Abel. We get into this just huge turmoil of this. And like I said, suing for libel is so hard. Like, they have to show that what they published, they knew was false, and they published it anyways. I don't know how they're going to be able to do that. A lawsuit hasn't been filed against Blake. Justin hasn't filed one against Blake, but I would assume what's going to happen is they're going to answer her complaint and file a countersuit against her. And then it's going to be the war of the world. And it's going to depend, what were the damages? I think Blake's going to be able to show a lot of damages. Justin's going to be able to show a lot of damages, but they first have to show that, the sexual harassment was there, the intentional infliction of emotional distress was there. Justin's going to have to show that she basically, I would assume he's going to counter the same for defamation, for intentional infliction of emotional distress. They're going to have to prove those elements, and then they're going to have to move to the damage stage. So it's going to be a really interesting play on how this plays out. And again, these are two rich people. And at the end of the day, who's going to win? I think the attorneys are going to win because they're going to get paid. These people are going to pay them to file these, and they're the ones that are going to get paid in the end. So it will be interesting. I don't know. They might be forced to go into an arbitration. They might do mediation. They might be able to settle it. But at the end of the day, I think this is also really close to what Johnny Depp did, which Johnny Depp filed suit against Amber Heard, not because he thought he could win, but because he wanted his voice out there. Amber Heard had driven the narrative so much that she had basically destroyed him. And he knew the only way he was going to get his voice heard, whether he won or not, was to sue her. I think that's exactly the tactic that Blake Lively did. She had been destroyed. Her career was suffering, which I really do think she would have bounced back, but whatever. Her career was suffering, so the only way she was going to be able to be heard and get her voice out there was to sue. And now Justin's going to have to sue. And at the end of the day, I think that Justin needs to sell the rights back to Colleen Hoover, and Blake Lively needs to go make the other book into a movie, because it would be sad if It Ends With Us ends and we don't get It Starts With Us. That's it. Let me know if you have any comments or if you have people that you want to do on our next Coil Chat. Talk to you soon.